Get started. The first step, we're gonna type Flutter, and the first one, Flutter Beautiful Native Apps in a Record Time. This is the website we're going to stick around. And you know, Flutter is made by Google. It is for making native apps for iOS and Android, and in the future it's gonna work for web and desktop also. So we're going to look inside this Flutter documentation. There are 6 main categories or main components of this documentation. First is the get started part, which will tell you about how to install or set up your editor IDE. And the second is the cookbook, where you can have some basic knowledge about the basic Flutter apps. And we have the widgets catalog, which is mainly displaying all the widgets that you can use or apply in your app. And also we got some samples from the community and the Flutter. Also we got API docs, which mainly are the libraries that you can use in your app and how you can import or use them. Last is the videos that you can look for in produced or made by the Flutter official Flutter. So this is the basic idea about the Flutter site, and we are going to focus on this part, the widgets catalog, which we will learn a lot about the widgets that you can use or apply in your app, and some fantastic one that you need to master in order to produce a fantastic app. So let's get started. First, we're going to look at the get started part. Here it will tell you how to set up your editor and install the Flutter SDK. We are using macOS for the project because macOS is the only thing that you can make an iOS app. For Windows user, you may consider to switch to macOS, or you can only make the Android app only. So for macOS, we are going to follow the steps here. Since our course is focusing on widgets, so we are not going to walk through the installation step by step, but I can tell you that you can just download this zip file and then open up your terminal, copy and paste the command lines here and run. After this, you are going to set up your Xcode. For Xcode, simply follow the commands, and then you will see the Xcode configuration. You are going to manage you are going to fill in the signing information, the code signing. You are going to need a free developer account. For Android, you have to set up the Android Studio. You're gonna download the Android Studio. So from here, and then you can set up your emulator. You're going to use the virtual device, which means you can view the real-time Android app in your computer, but not on your Android phone, which is quicker for us to deploy our app and see the feedback from our code. Alright, so after installation, we're going to set up your editor. Here we have 2 choices, Android Studio or Visual Studio Code, which is supported by Google or Flutter. So for Flutter project in our course, we will use Android Studio. It is really your personal preference whether Android Studio or VS Code. But for us, we're going to use Android Studio. Here we just simply download the Android Studio, and after download your Android Studio, you may see this screen. We are going to create our first app. Click the second button, start a new Flutter project. So here you have 4 choices. First is application, second is plugin, third package, and last module. We will talk about this in other courses for creating package or plugin. For our course, we're going to select the application, click next, and then give your project or your app a name. We may call it the first app, and you don't have to choose the SDK path. You just need to choose the location, and you may give a description for your app. Click next, and then you just give your domain name here, and you don't have to click, or you don't have to check this one. Click finish, and it will start create the first project for you. Just wait for a few moments. Yes, so you can see the first app here. Okay, we're going to walk through the first project we have created. First app. The first time you see this page, don't worry, we're going to explain to you what's happening. This is the demo code made by Flutter. All projects will have this code. And first, you can see here, Android, this is Android specific code here, iOS specific here. And what we are going to mainly focus on is the lib, lib, and this is our file, main.dart. We're using Dart language, so the file extension is Dart. For test, we don't have to worry about this. And for these files, we are not going to change or edit anything, but for except for the pubspec.yaml. Here we'll add our dependencies, or your image here, or your fonts here. So 2 areas we're going to work on a lot. First is the lib folder, second is the pubspec.yaml, and that's it. After that, we are going to visualize the main.dart. How? We're going here. We are going to select one of this, or maybe we just do the iOS. Select the iOS simulator. It will opens up the simulator from the Xcode. While it's running up, we may explain what's going inside. This is the sample app from the Flutter. They import the Flutter material.dart. This is the library for the MaterialApp, and here we have to run the app, the main the app. This is the entry point for our app. Here my app is reflecting this class, my app. If you change this, it shows red line, meaning this notation given is not exist. So we have to refer to this class, so the same name is needed, my app. Here it is a status widget. We will explain what is status, what is stateful. For status widget, we have the build method here. Return the material app. This is from the material.dart, and we give title, theme, and home. So let's visualize it first. Click the start button, and it will do the works for you. Just wait. It's running the Xcode build, and after that you will see your app running up. Okay, so let's see what's happening. You can see this is the app that we can implement the counter. This is the title. Where is it appearing? Here. My homepage, you got title, Flutter demo homepage. And this is the counter function here. First, I'll show you what is this hot reload and hot restart. This is the main feature for Flutter. What if you want to change the title here? Just type maybe here and then just reload it. You will see up and running here the new title. This is really quick, and when to use hot restart, for example, you add some dependency here, you run the packages get, you have to use the hot restart, start the app from the beginning. Here you can see it will restart the app. So this is the difference between hot reload and hot restart. And the really first thing I have to tell you is that how do we get this debug corner out. Here you can see the not here, the Flutter inspector, more actions. You can hide the debug mode banner. Yeah, really easy, as many people just wonder where to hide this. You can see it from the Flutter inspector, more actions. You can show or hide. That's it. In the following lectures, we're going to dive deep here about our widgets and the app. I will show you some common actions or tricks that you're going to use in the Android Studio. So first is how to add Android app. Emulator. For iOS, it's quite easy to set up the iOS emulator, but for Android, you have to click this button here, which is the Android Virtual Device Manager, and this is my pre-installed phones. But for you, you're gonna create your virtual device, and you can choose tablet or phone, and choose the one that you would like to have. For example, the Pixel. You click next, and you're gonna choose whatever the system you want. For example, like Pi or Oreo, but I suggest the newest one, which is Q. And you don't have to choose this and this one. Just configure the things that you want. I suggest the newest things, and click next and click finish. I will create your virtual device here, and so it's not updated now, but I can choose, for example, like Pixel. If I click it, I will run the app, run the phone. And then you can choose from here. Okay, our just added pixel is here, and when your phone is up, you can choose Android SDK built for x86. Just click this, and then you are selecting this one, and you click run. It is really easy to run your app on Android, just the same as or iPhone. And remember, you are running from the same code base, which is Flutter or Dart, the Dart language. You are not running Java or Swift here separately. You are just running from your Flutter, and you can see it. Both apps are the same, nearly. They got everything the same, the functionality. For example, if I click it, it will increment. Yep, it's loading. And what if you want to change something? For example, if I change the title and if I click run, it will just pop up here, but not iPhone. Why? Because you have to select for iPhone, and then it will run the code on iPhone. Okay, just rebuild it, and then you can see, yeah. So this is whatever you want to change. You can't do it on both. You have to choose from one of these devices. Okay, second part, how to rename. For example, you can see my first app here. This name is used in this place as well. So if I change it to my second app, maybe it pops up a red line. Why? Because it shows the error that I cannot find anywhere you got my second app declared. So how to solve this is the trick that you have to master. For example, you have to right click and then choose refactor and then rename. So here we can simply rename it and click refactor. You see the name here also got changed. So this is the way that we can change the name or rename something that you also used in other places. And for example, we're going to see what MaterialApp actually is. What can we do? We can just hover it, and you can see, oh, MaterialApp, it takes a key, and then navigator key, home, a widget, and then the routes, something like this. So how do you understand this? You can see here, home is a property that MaterialApp can have. So we declare it home, and the home is my home page. So when you start the app, it will show the page, my home page here, and you give the title of this, which is the first app one, maybe here. So if you want to have some more understanding about the widgets here, you can just hover on it and then see what does it takes. For example, at center it takes key, width factor, and child. See, if you see this child, and you can show it here, the child take a widget, child has a type widget, which is this, the column is a widget. So does it help you understand the things happening here? And finally, we're going to add some file. We're not going to have one file for all the time. We're going to add file. Normally you would do the package first, which is folder, and then maybe login, and then login you create another file. Here in Flutter we use Dart file, because Flutter is written in Dart, we use the Dart file, and then login page maybe. So you see you can have login page inside the login folder, but it is really complex, so I don't think it is quite good. So what's the way to create a file inside a folder quickly? Is that you can just type in the name of the folder and then slash and your file name, landing page. That's it. You create a landing page inside the landing folder. It's really helpful and you gotta do things quickly. So these 4 steps, 4 tricks is how you're gonna work better in creating your Flutter app. In this part, we are going to cover what's pubspec.yaml and how do we use it. So before we start talking about this, we're going to talk about pub.dev. So pub.dev is basically contains all the packages that we can use in Flutter. For example, you can see a lot of interesting stuff like image picker, where you can choose the image from your local photo library, and like the Google Maps, where you can use the embed the Google Map, FireBase storage, which we will cover in a later part, which tells about which is about how to use the FireBase inside your Flutter package. You have to install multiple packages for that, and you can see like locations to handle real-time location in your phone. So before we dive inside these packages, we have to use it, or we have to put it in our project. So how do we do that? For example, I choose the image picker, and you can see there's a detailed info for how to use it, and here installing you can see this line, image picker, and this is the version. So we just copy this line and add it to the pubspec.yaml. Inside your pubspec.yaml in the project, you can see under the environment you will see the dependencies. Inside the dependencies, you have to add the line from the from the pub.dev here, just exactly this line. And after add this line to the project, you have to run the packages get. But before that, I have to remind you, indentation is very important in pubspec.yaml. For example, if you get indented inside the, for example, like the capital icons, it is wrong. It's definitely wrong. So you have to make sure that the indentation is under the dependency instead of other packages. And for indentation, it is 2 spaces 1 2 instead of 3 or 1. So you have to make sure there is 2 spaces for indentation and the indentation is correct. Otherwise, you can't get the package. Now we run the packages get and just wait for it. If you see the process finished with exit code 0, that means that it is alright, very good, you are good to go. So make sure you see the exit code 0. Normally it does, but if it's not, you have to check whether your indentation goes wrong or not. After that, you can use our package. Like we can import it in the your file. So we're gonna check it. For example, go to the main.dart and top, you import it, and it is not red line, which means that, for example, if it red line, it means it doesn't exist. If it is gray, it means that it exists, but you didn't use it. So if you want to check whether you import the whether you get the package, you just run it and see, oh yes, it's gray, and that's fine. I have to use it in our code. So this is where you find your packages, pub.dev, and then it will make your life a lot easier because you can find a lot of packages that you can use for your project, which makes it very good for users. For example, like the Flutter Slidable, you can just install this package and you can use this function like the slidable. You don't have to hard code it for yourself. You can just use it. So in our course, we'll introduce the packages as well for you to implement in your app. So this is how you use the dependency here. Also, we can see, so you know how to use the dependencies. And what if you want to add images inside your app? How do you do that? It's not simply add the image to your code or whatever. You have to create the folder first. We call it images or assets. I call it assets. And inside the assets, you have to import your image to the folder. Okay. After import the image to the folder, we go to the pubspec.yaml, and you scroll down. You see inside the green lines, you can see this access. It says if you want to add access to your application, you have to add the access section like this. You just delete the and then under the access, you can add images. And how do you add your image? You can see our folder name is called the assets, and you have to do this assets. And normally our image is something that is not easy to use. For example, you don't want to type all these numbers here. So I have to remind you to rename your image to something really easy to remember and use. For example, I name it grapefruit, and then you type it here. The extension is JPG. Take care about the extension. If you type it JPEG, it doesn't work because it doesn't match the image. So after that, you run packages get, and then yes, this is the error that I want to show you. I've just mentioned about that we have to take care about the indentation. So you see, you remember the indentation have to be 2 spaces, and here we just got one under the assets. So either you give 2 spaces or you move the assets 1 spaces before. Here we got 2 spaces, and you're gonna run it again, see if it's okay, and then it keeps showing this. So you're gonna move it forward. It's better to move it to the front, very front, and then move it to the front too, and then 2 spaces. Remember, 1 and 2. Run again. Packages get execute with 0. That's perfect. That's what we want, and that's what I want to show you. Remember the indentation. It really matters. Sometimes if you can't figure it out, you can't make your app run. So remember the indentation in pubspec is very important. And other than images, what you can add, you can also add the font. You can see you got a font section, and you can download some font with the extension TTF, and then you import it the same way we did with the image. And that's how you add the image or fonts here. Okay, in this session we are going to learn the basic widgets that we are going to use in any application. For example, the scroll effect and the layout, how to put text in the places you want, and how you can handle the input of text and image, how to display images, and button. You're gonna need a button, either icon button or a button with a text. So these 5 basic components we're going to learn, and we're going to walk through the official document, because it is the place where all the things we wanted are written. And here we'll live code with you. You may wanna code with me as well. And first of all, for the default main.dart, we don't need this because it is for counter and the default counter. We don't need this. We may just simply delete it. Let's see from where to where. You can easily check by clicking one of the brackets, square brackets, and then you can see the yellow. Okay, this is enclosing this kind of text, so we can simply delete from here to here, and this as well from here to the bottom. Delete, and you can immediately see the red line because it is not defined. So quick trick, we can simply type STF, which means stateful, and then type the name, my homepage, and that's it. It is really fundamental app. And why is red line? Because title is no longer a property appear here. We don't have this, so we don't need to write title there. I can show you what it is looking now, and you can see it's just a black screen. It is running. How can I prove that? For example, we take a look what container is, and then we give color. You can see you got color, and for colors we write, for example, pink, and let's check. Yes, it is running. So I will explain this property
it's about widgets.
Don't worry,
And what
I just make sure
actually
it's running.
is widgets.
Let's
Widgets
recap.
is
How can we do?
like the basic
When you got
components
your demo,
for every app.
delete the lines below.
For example, this app,
for
the
example, like
pink
1 to the
background
second
is
class,
also a
all
widget,
are not important.
where
Delete
it is
because
developed by
that
the
is for
container.
content app. We're gonna
And
make our own app.
if you are
So
more careful,
we create
you can see
a new
container
stateful
is
widget
also a widget
called
which
my
is
homepage,
wrapped by
which is
MaterialApp inside
this
my
name, the
homepage.
referring to the
So,
my homepage under the
I'm
home.
gonna explain the first
Sorry.
widget that you encounter
And then
in
we
your
got a very
Flutter Live, the
plain
MaterialApp.
app.
What
Running.
is MaterialApp?
It's basically the entry point of your of your app. The home property is where the user will pop up to the screen. If you declare this my homepage, and when the user starts the app, it will pop the layout inside my homepage. So in the future, we're gonna look at what is routes. Routes meaning you have multiple pages or multiple screens, and you're gonna declare the initial route. Initial route will be the entry point, just simply like home. But when you're going to use routes, you cannot have the home property there. And we are going to explain this in the future parts where we're going to create our own app. And besides, I have to explain that if you look at what homes take, it takes a widget, and it means that it expects the things come up here is a widget. How do we know that it is a widget? Because inside the class my homepage, this extends the stateful widget, which is a kind of widget, and we can see it here. Title, it expects string. For string, it simply means test, and here is a test. For example, if we're gonna give a string, we have to use this single colon, and then we type something here. And how do I let you know that you have to make sure the type is correct? For example, if you put my home page here, it will pops up a red error line, meaning my home page can be assigned to the parameter string, which is widgets. This is widgets, and this expects string. It doesn't match, so it gives you error. How do we solve this? Either we can use single colon. I'm sorry, it's single quotation marks. If you use single quotation marks, it makes this as a string, so it works. Otherwise, it won't work in the home page either if you use the single quotation mark, which makes the widget to a text or a string. So be careful when you come up with error. Simply check whether you matches the type it expects from the property. Here we will just say home as a string, so that works fine. And in a later part, we'll explain how to add some basic functions using widgets. For example, scrolling inside the web. Here we just a plain background with nothing, and in the future we're going to explain how to add scrolling or images or text input or even button that you're gonna need in all apps. So let's get started. Okay, so our app is really plain, just a background with nothing. So I'm going to introduce you our widget, the widget which you are going to use a lot of time. Scaffold. What is scaffold? It simply makes your app like an app. For example, we have the property app bar, and what can it take? It takes title. For example, my app, and then you can see, just like a normal app, you can see the title. And what else you can give? You can give leading. Leading also takes a widget which we'll use a lot, like back. And then you can see leading appears right here. You can also use other widgets like icon or icon button, but for this purpose I will just use test for everything because you only know test widget. And after that, we can also have a body. You can see app bar, the brackets is up to here, so under the app bar we can give body. What is body? Body is simply means the things goes into the body. For example, we give a widget which we've already seen earlier, the container, and inside container we just give it the color pink again to see what's happening. And reload, you see this is where you control the body. It's using container in the property body. So after the body, we can also make button navigation bar, which you would see in other apps. So under the body, we can also give button navigation bar. And what do you need to give here? We give button app bar. So what is button app bar? We can reload it again. Nothing's happened. We give a child. We give another container first, and for example the height is 40 and the color is what you want, like green accent, and see what's happened. You see the bottom navigation bar pops up. It has a lot of potential. You can put a lot of things like button or text or icons, anything. Besides that, you may want to have a floating action button, just like the counter one. We can do so. Under the button navigation bar, we give it floating action button, and inside floating action button, we give floating action button again, and you can see it pops up. So we've simply laid out our very basic app, and it's not functional. Why? Because you see the property on press, and on press mean the action the button will do when you press the button, and we give null, meaning nothing. So in the future, we're going to add some methods here, which we are going to implement to make the button works. So that's the first widget you learned, scaffold, and it just lay out your app just like a normal app. Okay, after knowing the scaffold widget, we are going to focus on the body. In the body, for now, we just have a plain background, which is because of this container. But container doesn't just show the background. It can also have a child which takes the text. For example, here is pain, and then let's reload. You can see it suddenly robs the text. Why? Because container is robbing its content, which is inside the child. If the text only takes the width of it, for example 100, and it will only rob 100 width. We can also give the property, if 200, it will extend. If it is 440, it will change. Can see it. And what about the height? You can also give the height maybe 100, and it will extend it. Simply, it will give 410, and will extend. So, can see if you don't give the property width and height, it will just simply robs it. And if you give it, it will be what you want. Okay, this is the property that you learned. And also, we can give margin. What is margin? For margin, we'll give edge index dot and dot whatever you want. We have only, we have all, and let's show all first. For example, 8.0. See, it moves, and if it's 18, it moves further. So for margin, just like padding, it will give the space that you want to move around. And what is the difference between only and symmetry, asymmetry, or all? For example, if you use only, you have to give where, top, left, right, or bottom. For example, only the top, we give 20, and let's see what happens. It moves. Only have margin between the top and the box. And if I want to move it from the left to the right, how do I do so? I say left and then 40 maybe. It moves, so it gives you the ability to control where you want to position it. For symmetric, you only give vertical or horizontal, and you know when I show it. For vertical, it means this part, if I make it 100, it will move vertically more. If horizontally, I want to move it further from the left, let me say 250, it is out of range, 150 here. So you can see, you can control it. When you want to have precise control, you can use only. If you don't, you use symmetric. If you want every corner is the same, you use all and just declare a number to it. That's it. And what's more, it is very boring if you only have the container, right? The container is only one box. And what if I want to display more boxes? How do we do that? We can wrap it by selecting the container and then double click it. Selecting it, and then you can see a light bulb here. Select what with new widget, or here what with column, and you can see it's automatically do for you. You can see children here. Why is children? Because as I said, I want more container appear here, meaning it is plural, or meaning many widgets will appear here, instead of container which only have one widget, or which only can have one widget, which is test. So let's add another container and see what happens. This time it is also a test and second widget, and see what happens. Yep, it just appeared down below the pink box. Why? Because it is a column, and for column it is vertically. And if you change it to a row, how to change it? You can just change the name to row and see it will lay out horizontally. So you also learn column and widget, and we'll fix this in the future because it's not scrollable, and this means that the box is out of the range that you can see. You can see it's overflowed by 129 pixels. So in the future, we're going to learn about how to make things scrollable, and you can escape from the error. Okay, after knowing the container, column and row, we're going to add image inside the box. So we use container before we learned about scrollable widgets, so that you won't come up with any error. For adding image inside this, what do we do? First, for example, in the first box, which corresponds to this container, we add the child, and inside the child we give a widget. What widget we are going to use for adding image? It's called image dot, and then you can have a choice whether it's access, which means that you fetch the image from your local store, and network from the over the wire. So we use access, and inside this we're gonna give the path how the Flutter can fetch this image, goodfoot.pig JPG, and use quotation marks, single quotation, and then we give access / goodfood.jpg, which is this file, and then we save. Done. It pops up, but do notice that it has a pink background. And what can we do? We can give the fit property, and inside this we can give box fit, and you have choices as well. You can see here for box fit contain, it will show like this, which contains the photo. Fill is filling this, but it will distort the image. Fill height, fill cover, and then we use cover. Cover means it covers it nicely. And let's see, box fit dot cover. Refresh. Yeah, it's nice. So you can see fit property helps you a lot when the image doesn't fit your size. And also you can give height, and let's see if we comment it out. Give like smaller than it, 60. What will it do? Yeah, it will change. And for the width, if we give 110, just like the background, what will it do? It will do nothing. Why? Because it is contained inside the container. It cannot do something to change the width and height. So the only way is to use fit property, box fit cover. That's it. The image widget, and we will use image.network in the future. But for now, image.asset is how you can fetch the image from your local. So what about test? What if we want to display the test here? We've used test before, but we didn't explain what test widget is and what can we do with it. So here we give child as always, and then test, simply test widget. We give a string, for example, second widget that we use, and then you can see it appears here, but it is not the display or the design that we want. So how can we do with it? I will show you some ways. For example, the font size, and it is not that simple or direct to just declare font size. And so the first thing we say style, and inside the style we can use a lot of property like the color, and then we can give, for example, white color. It change directly. Or the font size, for example 40. Wow, very big. 20. Yep. And the font weight also. For font weight we can say bold maybe, and it changes directly. Other than this, we can also use overflow. What is overflow? So sometimes you want to display the text in single line and with ... meaning some text is hidden. So you use this overflow dot it's text overflow dot ellipsis, and then it turns the remaining text to ... But how come? Because the text widget is inside the container, and the container limits the space that the test can have. So when I say the width is 200, it displays more text. So thanks to this, we can simply do dot 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 to hide the text. And other than this, we can also use text line. So let's make this shorter. And text line is really useful when you want to align the words. For example, if I want to make this move to the center, how can we do so? We say text line dot center. It's really straightforward, and reload, and you see it moves to the center. And also we can say end, meaning it goes to the end. You know it when you start playing with it. For example, the start is the first, or the corner. It is really simple, and that's what you're gonna to use with text, the style and overflow and text line. But that's a lot. How do you know? You can simply kick the text and you can see what can you do with it. For example, the text direction, you can make it left to right or right to left. The max line, how many lines it is allowed, and more. Apart from this, I'm going to show you another widget which is called text.rich. For text.rich, go and copy and paste this. Yep. For text.rich, it has another feature. For example, you have to declare text, and then let's do all these things first. Text.rich takes the text span, and then inside the text span we have text. For example, hello. And then what else you can do with text.rich is that you can give children. Inside the children, you can give a list of text span, and for example, hello world, and another text span. Maybe beautiful, and then you can see the style you can give to different text is different. For example, if I give the text style font size with 20 for the word, and the text style for the beautiful is font size 40. You can see from the single line you can deploy different text style with it. Instead of this one, we cannot do so because it is confined with a single text style. So for special effect, you're gonna use .rich. So we are going to cover button. By the way, don't mind about the layout first, because in this section we are going to show you all the properties or all the widgets that you may need to use in the future. So we don't care about the layout at this point. Let's say button. So how can we add the button here under the container, this container? So we'll say raised button. And what is raised button? You will know when I give some text to it. for example child and test, and then when we reload it, you will see it. This is the raise button, but it looks strange because we can't click on it. Why? Because we need onPressed. We need to declare onPressed. In onPressed, inside onPressed, we have to give a function. This is the syntax to say, oh, I'm a function. So when we reload it, you will see, oh, that pops up. You can see it just like some raised button, have the shadow, and you can even click on it. And that's it. That's the basic raised button. But we have another kind of button, which is called flat button. And when we reload it, you can see the border disappears, and it's just a normal text with clickable button. So my personal preference is raised buttons. It looks better, but we can do more. For example, we can give a gradient to the background. For example, we use the container first, and then inside the container we do the normal first, color stop pink, and let's see. It doesn't show, right? Because we have to rub it with, we have to use the decoration, and inside the decoration we say box decoration, and we have the property gradient, and inside gradient we can give color. We can say we want linear gradient inside color. We say the first color is pink, and the second color is maybe green. Let's see what happens. It shows nothing. Why? Because as we mentioned above, container is wrapping some widgets of it. So we give child and test. We simply say button, and now you can see it pops up. And what more you can do with it is that you can also give text style, maybe the font size 30, and it will become larger and larger. So this is the basic, and don't mind about the layout first. I will show how you can properly build a web after showing the scrollable widget. Okay, so this is just a small reminder. Someone may think that it's weird with this the gray background. So what's our solution? We can say that for the padding of the raised button, we can give edge inside all with 0, no padding. And let's see, it just shrinks so that it will totally be the button with the gradient background. That's it, how we can solve the problem with the gray background. Learned the raised button, the container, the text, and image, how to add image. But the problem is that we display all the widgets in the same space. We cannot scroll if we got more widgets. For example, if I copy and paste this, the container, and reload it, you can see there is an error. The bot says the button overflowed by 255 pixels. It means that there are something below it, below the button, but you cannot see it. You cannot scroll, or you cannot go down to the button. There's nothing there's no ways for you to view the widgets below it. So that's the problem, and we need to fix it. How come? We used column as the parent widget, and it contains the children. So I'm gonna introduce you the single child scroll field. How can we implement that? We click the column and then see the light bulb, select what with new widget, and you just type single child scroll field here. And for single child scroll field, it need a child, and now the child is the column. So when we reload this, you can see the error is gone, and you can scroll down and you can see the animation here. So it is fantastic, the simplest way for you to scroll a list of widgets. But I think it's not good enough, so I'm gonna delete this and introduce you the list field. So let's delete this first. Okay, list field, and then for list field it need children instead of child, and inside children you can have a lot of widgets. For now, for simplicity, I just use container, which we have already learned. And for the container, I give a height of maybe 70, and the color is pink. Let's see, it's just simply a bar, and we need to give more of it. So container, maybe adjust the height. This one is like 170, 30 or 40. Change the color to green so that you can see the different boxes. Okay, you can see we cannot scroll, but it automatically show the animation. You see the scrolling effect. And I'm gonna introduce you a new thing called sized box. What sized box does is simply give you some blank height or blank box. For example, I say active and refresh. You see there's a blank area, so you have to use it to separate between the container. And once we do that, you can see you can scroll this as a list. Imagine each container is a list of something like test, and then now you can simply scroll through the list, and that's why it's called list view. It is really useful when at some point you want to make a list of something or make it scroll. So we have learned two things. One is the single child scroll field and this list field, plus the sized box. Sized box can help you to separate widget between widgets. And that's it, how you can scroll. Okay, after list field, we are going to talk about a very important widget that we are enabled to really paint the app that we want. So let's delete the list field first. And what's it? It's called stack. And for stack, the concept is simple. It means that when you have a background, you put something above another widget. For example, in a stack, you have to give children, and inside the children, the uppermost is at the last layer, which means the back For example, we have a container and we give color .yellow, and it is really at the back. So when we give another container on top of it, we can see that the height we give 50, and then we can see that it is on top of it. How come? Maybe we give the width to visualize it, and the margin would be 100. Okay, and you see that it is the green box, the container is on top of the background, the container background, and we can also give another container on top of the green one. For example, the red, and then we make it 110. Let's see, it is on top of that. So you can see how useful is the stack widget, which means that if we want to have a, for example, circular avatar and some text on top of that, it is really simple and easy to do so. Just to remember that the upper one is the back, and down is the top. So this is how we use the stack widget. The third section, we are going to really make our app, and by using what we have learned, before we start, we're gonna make a login page and a home page. So for now, we have to do some works, like for login page we call it landing page, and we have a home page. Just say home page. Okay, so for the main page, we're going to delete all of this from start to bottom. Yeah, so when we delete this, it pops up an error. And how do we solve it? We use we go to the landing page. We're going to name it login page or landing page. Landing page is better. Landing page, and then copy this name. Go to landing page. We use STF, the shortcut for stateful widget, and call it landing page. It's not done. We have to solve the error. Why does it pops up? Because we have to import something. We import the material dot, and that's it. The simplest widget here. And we have the error. How do we solve it? We have to import the landing page, and data is solved. All errors are gone, and when we hot restart it, and you will see a blank black page, because in the main dot we run the my app, and for my second app, and for my second app, the home page is the landing page, and for landing page you have to go to this file, the landing page dot, and we give the container. Inside the container, I have to give some colors to show that it's working fine. Yeah, so we just moved everything from the main to the landing page, and we're gonna to construct the landing page, make it login with the icon or some test field for you to do the login function. And we're going to do this in the next video. So let's build our landing page or login page. We're not going to use this ugly green color, so I'm going to teach you how to use your custom color instead of the default color. So here, color, you gotta give a value. And what is the value? We are not going to use this as our value, but we're going to do something. This is our hash code, and we're going to add 0xFF before that, and reload. It will pop up the color that you want. Where is it going? It means the transparency, and you're just gonna remember 0xFF before the code that you really want to use, the color that you really want to use, and that's it. And for a landing page or login page, you're gonna have some text field or input field for you to enter the password and email, right? So we're gonna do that now. Inside the container, we're gonna give child, but for child we this time use the column. Inside column you can have multiple child called children, and first we're going to display the test, and the test will be sign in, and let's see how it's going. Okay, so this is really up, and you see the new phones have this hat and it blocks the works. So we are going to solve it by wrapping it with a new widget called save area. Let's reload and see. The words are below the hat and is saved. You can see all the words, but you are going to see some red text. How can we solve it? Say style, test style, color. Give our custom color called black maybe, and you can see the yellow line still appear. So this is really a good problem. Sometimes it will pop up with this problem when you're not aware. Can you see from our code what's missing? We're missing something called MaterialApp as we first mentioned. So let's swap it with MaterialApp and try to see if we can solve the problem. And under MaterialApp, we cannot have this kind of parameter because MaterialApp takes in home. And since we are using MaterialApp here, so we are not going to use MaterialApp here again. So the better way for you to solve this is scaffold. And for scaffold, we are going to call this as body. So reload it and see, yeah, the problem is solved, but the test is not what we want. So we are going to make the font size bigger, like 50, and we're going to align this to the center. It's better. So you learn that you have to use scaffold whatever the new file is created before any widgets. Another thing is that you can use app bar, which is really easy for you to create a really app-like style app bar. But this time we don't use it, just leave it. Sign in. Okay, and then we're gonna I think this color is not good. I'm gonna use amber. Yep. And then we're going to add more widgets. For example, the test field for you to input the password. For test field, you can use controller as we mentioned before, and we have a decoration. With decoration, you can use the input decoration, and then inside the input decoration you have a hint test. For example, we say email, and let's see, this is called hint test. Okay, and we're gonna make another test field. So this test field is for password. Let's see, yeah. And I think that the field is not good enough. I want some padding. How do we do that? Let's see, do we have padding? No. So we're gonna wrap it with padding and give 16 to see. Yeah, it's better. And this one as well. Wrap it with padding and give it 16. What's going on? Okay, 16, and it is better. But I want to do something. I want to control the test here. Why? Because I want to store the test and make it to the make it for login. We send the test inputted here, and then we send it to FireBase for handling the login. So we're gonna up here, and then we type final. Final means it won't change, and we named it as the email controller equals the test editing controller. Okay, so this is for controlling the email, and the password controller this is for password. So we take this email controller and add to here. The test field, we can have the controller property and use the email controller. And the same as for the password field, we say the controller is the password controller. So we are not going to implement the handle the login function first, but I'm going to show you how this works. For example, to make this button works, and when I click this button, it will pops up something and show to the test that I've typed here, in order to prove that I can retrieve, I can get the test I've typed in this field. Okay, I just removed the test here. So remember, we have the email controller. This is where the test input is stored, and inside the raise button we can use something called show dialog, and for context we say context, and for the builder we say the context, and we use the flat arrow. We return the alert dialog, and inside the alert dialog we're going to display the title. The title will be email controller.test, just for example, and content will be the password controller .test. Okay, let's reload it, and when you type something here and something here, when you press the button, it will show it pops up exactly what we've typed up there. So it means that we can retrieve the words in the input field and show it to other places. That's how we do it. So it seems that you can type in the email and password, but it feels weird when you type the password and all passwords show up. How do we solve that? We can use obscure test, and we take this to true. Let's see what happens. Reload this and type. See, the password is really password looking. And also, when we reload it, restart it. And what if I want to automatically pops up to the email field? How can we do that? Inside the this text field for email, we can say autofocus and to true. Let's see what's happened. Let's hot restart it. See, it automatically pops up. Again, hot restart. Yeah, this is called autofocus, and sometimes it is useful. And also, we can give a keyboard type. For keyboard type, you give keyboard type you say test input type, and you have a lot of choices. For example, number with options, and we refresh it. You can see here is only number, but it is not useful for login, so we're going to delete this just for you to know. You have such kind of options. And when we hot restart, everything went well, and later we will implement the really login function. Created our login page, and then we don't have any functionality yet because we can't log in the users. How can we do so? I'm going to introduce you the FireBase. FireBase is the kind of backend for our app to handle the login or storage or any other stuff. So the first step is go to firebase.google.com and use your Gmail is fine, and then go to the console. Once you go to the console, you just click the create a project, and then give your project a name. We call it a MaterialApp, just a random name, and then click I accept, and I agree, and just click create project. I have to use all lowercase letter and just wait for it. After that, you can see your new project is ready and click continue, and you can see our project is here. Just click, and then you can see this panel where you can add the iOS app and Android app. We'll add each by each, and then you can have a look here, the developer can see there's authentication, which you can use for handling the login. You have a lot of options like sign by email, password, or using Google Sign In, or even Facebook, or any other stuff that you can use. And for database, this is where we store the data. For example, the messages that the user sent, or any data that we need to store and retrieve will be using the database, which is Cloud Firestore. And for storage, this is where we store our images or videos, and this is the three most common area that we are going to use. So in the following videos, I'm going to show you how to add the Firebase to your app. Before that, we have to go to pub.dev and install some packages to our dependencies. First one is FireBase core. This one, and another one. Since we are going to have the sign-in function, we have to use the Cloud Firestore. So I have to use Cloud Firestore and this one as well. So you can try by yourself first. Try if you can install the dependency to our project, which is in the pubspec.yaml. Alright. Since we are going to use Cloud Firestore, we have to add Firebase core first. So let's do so. Go to your project pubspec.yaml, and then under the image picker, we add the Firebase core. Remember, the indentation does matter, so please check if it is 2 spaces or in line with other dependencies. And then we're going to add Cloud Firestore to our dependency as well, and that's it. So this is not done yet. We have to click packages get and wait for the exit code 0. Yeah, it pops up. It means that you've already added these 2 packages to your project, and we can use it. Before we use it, we go to the authentication and we click set up sign-in method. We have to enable the email and password, and you go to the home project overview. We're going to add the Firebase add the Firebase to our project. How do we do so? You can see here's the little Android icon. Click, and then the first thing you have to do is to register your app. So there's a lot of steps to do, and you have to be careful. First, we go to the build.gradle file in the app level. So where is it? You can see from the project there's Android folder, and down there is a app, and open it. You can see the build.gradle. Click, and then you can see there's a lot of steps where to find the Android package name. Take a look here. You can see the application ID under the default config. This is what we are looking for. So just copy the com.something.something, well, without the quotation marks, and paste it there. And the app nickname is optional, just for your reference. We'll say MaterialApp. And for SHA, it is not required for our project as we are not using the Google Sign In. And just click register app. And you have to wait for some time. Yep, and you can see there's a download config file. Just download it, and you have to save the file, click OK, and you can see the config file is in our downloaded folder. We're going to drag it to our project. So where is it? We're going to drag it under the app. So here we drag our config file here, put it there, and then click OK. You can see the Google service.json, and that's it. We're going to proceed to the next step. We have to do some adding. You can see here is the project level build.gradle, so we open up that first. Project level is not that one inside the app, it is the one that outside and under the Gradle. So here we have to add this class path. Just click it and copy it under the dependency, just here, and you paste it there. And for the app level build.gradle, you have to add this line. So open up our app build.gradle and add this under the dependencies. And one more thing to add is this line, and outside, not inside the bracket but outside. So just add it just under the bracket, that's fine, and we save it. So after that, we have to run our app to verify. Since we are installing for Android, so we have to stop it and start your Android app. And run. Maybe we use the Pixel 3. Just run the app, and you can see it's still loading because our app hasn't connected or communicated with the FireBase server. So as of now, we have seen a lot of error. Why? As a reason, because our app isn't Android X compatible. So we are going to solve this. It is very likely you come up with this error too, because in our pubspec.yaml, we are using the nearest version of Cloud Firestore and Firebase, but for Android, there's Android X, and it will cause incompatibility with our plugin. So in the next video, we are going to solve this problem. So we have the problem due to the Android X issue, and we have to solve it. First, we go to the build.gradle, and you can see here is 3.2.1. We'll change it to 3.3.1. And after that, we are going to migrate. This is called migrate to Android X. So click to Android folder and see here the Flutter open Android module in Android Studio, new window, and you can see you have to give some time for it to run. And just open some files. So we are waiting for the migrate to Android X option be available under the refactor in the top bar. So you just click remind me tomorrow or don't remind me again for this project first. And now, yeah, you can see migrate to Android X available under the refactor. Click it, and just a personal preference, I don't back up. Just migrate and wait for it. After that, you can click do refactor and wait for it again. Once it is done, and we just close this. And you can see now is Android X there, which means that we fixed the problem. And let's try whether we can run it or not first. So there's still problem. So but we still come up with a bunch of error. What can we do? Just right above the build.gradle under the app folder, you can see here is the config, default config. Under the last line, you're gonna add multi-enabled, and I'm going to small capital M, and multi-enabled, and you have to say true. Just save it, and you can see the things will go well. Click the run, restart, and wait for it. Yeah, it will run, and you can see your app has communicated with the FireBase. Let's see. Yep, you can see the congratulations, you have successfully added FireBase to your app. Then our app is available to use the FireBase. So we've done the Android part. Remember, as of now, you must came up with the Android X problem, and don't worry, don't scare. You can fix it by going to the steps we've done before. The final step is very important. Add this line multi-enabled true under the config file. So after this part, you will have your app running in the Android.